Um, so the session has two purposes. One is that it is a session on answer writing, and second, it will also include a demo of the portal. Good evening. How to use a portal, how to upload answers, how to raise tickets. All those things will also be shown in this particular session. Um, this is a answer writing session, as in most of you are, all of you are in the PCM batch. I'm assuming. Hello, I'm audible. 1 second. Somebody has said that it has to be a little more louder. I'll just increase the. Hello. Is it better? It's audible. It's audible. So most of you have started attending classes. You are writing some answers also. I have been given some of your answers, especially with respect to IR, with respect to world history. Some questions have been given, and most of them are really impressive. I'm really happy to see your answers. It's really well written. Um, so if you can raise some of the concerns with respect to answer writing in the beginning, I can make sure that I cover all those things. I have a particular session in mind, but if you can include some of your concerns, if you can raise some of your concerns with respect to answer writing, I will start. I'll keep a note of that, and I'll include that in the session. What are your main concerns with respect to answer writing? What are the biggest challenges? No experience in answer writing. Okay, that's perfectly fine. You're way ahead of time. You would have enough time. Time management is a serious concern. This is there for the best of you. Okay. Adhering to word limit. Again, word limit and time management is closely interlinked. Increase the speed is a common part, right? Having many more points, but not able to cut short within the required pages. Okay. Into answers. Okay. And we haven't written any mains answers so far. Okay. So in different batches, it's different. Some batches have already written. Structuring of answers. How much data should be included? Handwriting is a serious concern for many people. I have come across people who have handwriting related issues. Beginner, how to start and write a precise answer, including all the points, quick thinking. Content making. Content making is closely connected to note making. Most of my subheadings are wrong, but the content is right. I have a very good idea for that regarding subheadings. We'll come to it when we discuss structuring of answers, understanding the question, issues regarding question, continuous flow of content, different perspective in which the question is asked. Sometimes it's not possible to understand the perspective in which the question is asked. You won't have the luxury to, what do you call, address the question as per the depth you expect, because the time provided is very limited, right? So that concern is gonna be there. We have recently joined. A little more louder. No, I'm not. I'm just collating the question, so I'll be a little more louder once I start. How to filter from content to the requirements of the answers. We're thinking how to conclude answers. Okay, interesting. Right, intro. Even though we read a lot of things while sitting down and writing, having started writing answers. So this is a lot of responses. What kind of data should be included? Understanding the question, style of answer writing. Can quotes be included? Definitely quotes can be included. Good pens to write. Okay. If answer not known to question, what will we do? There is a strategy for that also. Right. It's very much on the lines of what I have been thinking of. I'll start with certain things. What I would expect when you are writing answers, and what should you do before you start writing answers, right? So before you start writing answers, you have to start thinking from a mains answer writing perspective. You should have a mindset to write answers. Like, when you study a particular topic, you should think what kind of questions can come from this topic. If a question from this topic comes, how am I going to start that answer? What will be my first sentence? How am I going to divide the body into different parts? What kind of keywords will I use? What kind of conclusion will I write? What kind of maps will I include? What kind of schematics will I include? So as and when a topic is being discussed in class, one of the thought process that you have to initiate in your head is that you should have a mains answer writing mindset. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? The moment you are discussing a particular topic, let's say that NAM is being discussed, what kind of questions can come from NAM? If a question from NAM comes, how will I start this answer? In a question from NAM, what kind of data, what kind of personalities, what kind of quote, what kind of value addition can I include? Should I include a map? If so, what kind of map should I include? So thinking in that direction really helps you to frame a mindset to write mains answers. So any topic that's being taught in the class, you should probably have a column where you write down exactly what is it that you can pick up from this. Before you go into creating a what do you call mindset for mains answer writing, one research that you could always do is you can what do you call, one second. Is my screen visible? Right. You can do this as a self exercise, either as an individual or as a group. You can try and analyze the previous year's questions. At least for the last 5 years questions, you can start analyzing. You create an Excel sheet. I have created this, but I don't want to share this because the process of doing this is the journey in itself. You will learn a lot of things by doing this. Whenever you get free time, you create an Excel sheet like this. So this is basically the question, topic, question keyword, syllabus keyword, significance, link, or source, right? So this is 2018 question paper. From what topic has a question come? What are the keywords in the question, or what is the language of the question? So it's basically giving a statement and what are the challenges, right? So which syllabus keyword is it associated with? Why is this question being asked in that particular given year? And maybe any links to prepare for that particular topic. When you do this for all the topics, what would happen is that one, you will understand the relevance of the question, of the topic. What kind of questions are coming from this particular topic? What language is it being used? How many questions are likely to come from a particular area? Now, some topics you will see that you have a lot of questions coming, like polity, like governance. At the same time, you will notice that there are certain topics from which very few questions, or in some years, questions have been skipped as well. Take the case of post-independence or world history. Of science and tech, how many questions come? Take the case of disaster management. So before you get into answer writing, one of the important things that you can do is you can do a research of previous year's question papers and understand what is being asked and why it is being asked and how it is being asked. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Do you understand what I'm trying to say out here? A thorough analysis of previous year's question paper would be very useful in your mains preparation. Why it is being asked again, after a particular year examination is over, it's very difficult to find why it is being asked. Because the moment you search the question or the question keywords, you're going to be redirected to the coaching related institutes website and the questions that they have listed. But if you are able to search, like in Google, you have the option to search a particular time frame 1 year before the exam date and search for those keywords. How was it in news, right? What was it in news for? How popular was this news for? I'm not saying that you will not be able to, you'll be able to find relevance for all topics. You will be able to find relevance for some topics, right? I'm gonna share the screen again. Here, question, from which topic? What is the question keyword? Syllabus keyword, significance, and any links. I can maybe share a screenshot. I'll share it through your coordinator, right? I'll share a screenshot of one set of one page. I think that would be quite useful for you to prepare, right? So the moment you are able to analyze why a certain question is being asked or what kind of questions are being asked, whenever you learn a particular topic, it's easy for you to understand or anticipate what kind of questions can come. And this is one thing that I have found common among people who get very good ranks. I have found people who say that, I was able to anticipate at least 30, 40 questions because they have done a thorough analysis. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? You need to do a thorough analysis and understand what kind of questions can come from a topic. How many questions from a topic is coming? What is the weightage for this topic? And this will also give really sound. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just. Okay, I've done a lot of sessions on this laptop. I've never had sound issues as such. That's why I was not worried. I'll be a little more loud. So we start with this. What do you call? It's clear. Is it an individual set of issues? We'll come to that. Critically examine, analyze, comment. We will come to that. That is a part of the question, the discussion, right? So understand what questions have come from what do you call, and try to frame answers in your mind. When I say try to frame answers in your mind, take a look at previous year UPSC question papers and imagine you writing this answer, or imagine you being troubled to write this answer. Once you understand what kind of questions are being asked, the second step is understanding how you would frame these answers. So, as a serious candidate, your aspiration is to write mains and secure a rank. Don't wait for prelims to be over to start your answer writing. You're at the right time right now. You would easily have an advantage of 6 to 8 months now in your answer writing practice. This is going to be very useful when you start writing your mains answers or your actual mains, right? So try to frame answers in your mind. And now, when you look at a particular question, you can think of what kind of value addition can you give in this question. Can I include a map in this answer? What judgment can I mention in this particular answer? What committee report should I mention in this answer? If it's a question on agriculture or economy, what data can I present in this answer, right? Can you think like that? Like, look at a question and imagine, okay, I'm going to write this answer. How will I start this answer and how will I introduce this question? What kind of definition will I give for an ethics answer in this particular question? What kind of personality can I mention in this art and culture question or in this history question? That's how you should look at a question and think reverse engineer. This will also help you create very good, what do you call, notes. In the end, after all your classes are over, you should be having highly crisp notes of value addition for each subtopic. This is also something that's common among all toppers. Some of you have asked, how do I write good content? How do I write? We'll come to it. Let me go with the flow right now. And towards the end, we'll have a question answer session where I'll take questions, which is not related to what is being discussed, right? That's a very good question. If everybody is able to include value addition. See, again, in a 20 question test, how many questions can you write good answers, right? Most toppers are able to write 60 to 70%, not more than that. 30 to 40% of answers are mostly average or bad answers. So how many good answers can you write? How your value addition can stand out in comparison to other? And how can you present in such a manner that you're making it easier for the evaluator to check this answer? It's not just about value addition. It's not just about content. It is not just about question interpretation. It is also about how organized your answer is. How much time lesser. Right now it's screeching. Is everybody having an audio problem out here? Okay. Okay. Audio is perfect. So I'm assuming it's not a problem at my end, right? So yes, it is. Before this came in, there was a question that was raised by somebody. Is it about making it easier for the evaluator to check the answer? Definitely, it's about easier. It's easier. It's about making it easier for the evaluator to check the answers. I have been dealing with mains answer writing from 2016. That's almost 4-5 years. And from 2016 onwards, one of the things that we have worked on is how to organize your answers in such a way that it's easier to check. How to organize in such a way that your main keywords are standing out. How to organize, how to do 3 hours writing continuously. I can't do more than, you'll come to it, man. You will write for 3 hours, you'll write for 6 hours also. You're in your early phases. I'm really sorry. I've never had this problem with respect to audio. Okay. Okay, I'm going to assume my audio is fine. I'm going to speak as it is. Whatever exceptions are, the recording will be available after the session. So maybe you can go back and listen to it, right? Okay, sorry. Okay. So we talked about making it easier for the evaluator to check the copy. Uh, in a test series or in an institute, when we check a particular answer or a copy, it takes us almost 1.5 hours to check 120 question copy. This is because we write subjective comments, we write macro comments, we write micro comments, we give a breakup of the marks, and these answer sheets are given to the students. But in an actual main scenario, the answer sheets are not accessible. Even if you file for an RTI, you're not going to get an answer sheet. And the number of copies being checked is significantly larger. So the amount of time that an evaluator would be spending on an individual answer for just putting marks would be substantially lesser than what we spend to put marks and explain why we are putting that mark. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if the evaluator spends less than 1 minute or 1 minute maximum on each answer. Then it's very important to make it easier for the evaluator to read what you have written. I can't stress on it. See, there is no transparency on who evaluates or exactly. There's a lot of what do you call speculations on this. One speculation is that it's being done by faculties or academicians from prominent government colleges. So for a GS paper, it would be a generalist. For an optional, it would be a specific subject expert. GS paper, it would be a generalist. The assumption is that because each paper has multiple subjects. If you go for GS1, there's going to be culture, history, world history, modern history. You have society, geography. There's multiple subjects. The logistics of dividing the copy into multiple papers and checking it would be highly cumbersome. So it's very likely that it's going to be one person that who would be going through your answers for each copy. There would be what do you call, a discussion before the evaluation happens and a set of guidelines that has been established, and then it would be done. See, unlike a prelims paper where it is very objective, mains evaluation is highly subjective. In a subjective evaluation, the biasness of the evaluator would be very much impacting the paper, and to a certain extent, I'm not saying that it will be very high. So the ability to read an answer, the ability to make content more visible, the legibility of an answer, that's where legibility comes. I'm not asking you to write in beautiful cursive calligraphic handwritings. Your answers have to be legible. So if you want to check whether your answers are legible or not, you can show one of your answers to one of your friends and ask them to read. If they are stopping at any spot to guess what is being written, then it's not legible. The test of legibility is that anybody should be able to read the sentences that you have written seamlessly without having to stop to guess or without having to guess what has been written. If the sentences are clearly written, that's more than enough. It does not have to be beautiful. I'm not asking you to make it beautiful. I'm asking you to make it legible. Most of you do have. And if you go back and look at some of the toppers answer sheet or most of the toppers answer sheets, very rarely do you find people with illegible handwritings or bad handwritings. Color pens are not advisable. One, it takes more time. Even if you want to go for color pens, it should be black and blue. But the whole process of shifting from one pen to the other can take more time. I had a student in 2018 who secured rank 80. She used to write with 3 pens, underlining and highlighting. And because of the whole process of using 3 pens, she could not write more than 15 answers. The moment she shifted to a single pen, she was able to complete the paper. So if you are using multiple pens and if you are using color pens and writing these answers, it could be quite natural that you are not able to complete these papers. I'm not qualified to comment on how optional answer sheets should be written. I don't want to get into that because each optional paper has a different demand, right? Let's take the Q&A session at the end. Writing 15 minutes twice a day, not a bad idea to write answers, individual answers a day, but it's very important for you to experience a 10 question or 20 question test. Because in the examination hall, the challenge is not in writing one answer. The challenge is in writing 20 answers in 3 hours. What kind of mindset will you go through questions when you write 20 answers is completely different from how you practice one or two answers every day. Even if you time your answers and write, it will never be equitable to the kind of experience that you will face when you are writing a really long paper, right? So I'm not against the idea of daily answer writing practice, but it is not a replacement for actual mock examinations where there are at least half a paper or full a paper, right? So the other steps, so we talked about having an answer writing mindset. We talked about analyzing previous year's question papers. We talked about imagining writing that answer and thinking about what kind of value addition can be included in your answers. Uh, then second is looking at toppers answers. How many of you have seen toppers answer sheets? Have you downloaded toppers answer sheets that's uploaded in various portals? So when you look at a toppers answers, what do you look for? What is it that you're looking for? If you haven't looked at toppers answer sheet, that's one of the first things that you should look at. Structure of writing, style of writing, how do they introduce structure, right? Now, over the years, another practice that I have found is that some people try to emulate a particular person uh, answer writing style. You decide, you look at a particular answer, and you, if you feel that okay, this is practical, this is something that I can do, then you write down the best practices that is being followed by the topper. You quantify his approach. And I'll just show you a screenshot of what somebody else had done. Right, I think that will give you an idea. Are you able to see this? This is a set of do's and don'ts that I've taken this as a screenshot as an example of something that a student has done. He has clearly defined what should constitute a good answer. What should his good answer should look like? Short and mimic the introduction. No rhetoric introduction. Better conclusion, way forward. Structure, mimic all points. Diagram, examples, constitutional articles, more points, dimensions, time management, fill paper space, presentation. He's clearly established what kind of parameters should include in his answers. This is created by referring to a topper's answer or referring to a set of topper's answers and taking the best practices. So once you define what your ideal answer should be like, it's easier for you to establish or practice that, right? Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So you, when you look at a particular topper's answers, or when you look at a set of topper's answers, structure, presentation, content, SPC, structure related parameters, presentation related parameters, and content related parameters. Clear? See, this is just indicative. This is something somebody else has done. You don't have to exactly do that like this. My role is to give you ideas in which you can try to implement it on your own way. I'm not going to define what is a good answer. I'm not going to say this is the best answer. You have to do it like that. Because no two people are going to write the same way. There is going to be different approaches. There's going to be different practices. There's going to be different backgrounds. Everybody of you, like, there are 500 people out here. Everybody is going to have a different approach out here. So you don't try to blindly emulate something, because when you blindly emulate something, it's very difficult or very impractical to consistently do it. You may be able to do it for one or two answers. You may be able to do it for a few answers. It's always advisable to develop a unique writing style of your own. But that unique writing style should have the best practices that is being followed by the toppers, or should have the best practices that has worked in the examination for other people. You're getting what I'm trying to say, right? There's no best way to do this. See, there are different ways to do. You take a look at toppers answers of 10 top 10 ranks this year. You will find they have different ways of writing. I'll come to it. I'll share this with Shruti or anybody else who's coordinating the program. They'll probably share it with you, right? Structure, presentation, and content. And what you will notice if you closely watch is that there is no same way of writing all papers or same way of writing all subjects. What works as value addition or what works as a good approach in a particular subject in a particular paper is not what works in another paper. I'll give you a simple example. In paper one, it is a common practice to explain the points that you write in one or two sentences. At the same time, what do you call, in paper three, the idea is to give maximum number of points. So in paper three, a 10 marker is likely to have 12 to 15 points, right? In paper one, that same 10 marker would have under 10 points, 6 to 8 points. So there's no one way of writing all the subjects or all the papers. There's a unique way of writing geography answers. There's a unique way of writing society answers. There's a unique way of writing security answers. When a diagram or a map works as a value addition in geography, in polity, the value addition and value addition is in the form of judgments. The value addition is in the form of constitutional articles. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So when you look at toppers answers, you closely watch and you write down exactly what you are doing. It's not, the questions are not from editorial. The questions are from the syllabus. If the syllabus keyword is interlinked with the issues that is being covered in editorial, then the questions gets asked, or then the benefit of reading an editorial comes in hand. So it's not practical to clearly define that, okay, you read editorials, you're going to get 6 questions. You're going to get questions from issues related to what is in the syllabus. UPSC asks questions from the syllabus. If keywords in the syllabus is having certain aspects which is prominently in news and editorials are being written around those news, then questions are being asked. I'll show you some of the answers. I'll take general questions in the end. Again, I'll take questions in the end. Don't worry, we can take it as long as we want, right? So, when do they use diagrams? What kind of introductions do they write? What kind of conclusions do they write? How many points do they write? How much depth of explanation do they write? So when you look at a topper's answers, you analyze that. You try to create a set of good practices that you can emulate in your answer sheets, right? So this is some of the practices that you have to do with respect to answer writing. Any doubts on? I'll take a. It would be preferable to ask questions related to what has been discussed so far. General questions we'll take in the end. Any doubts on what has been discussed so far? I think practicing daily mains answer writing is not a bad idea, but I have certain reservations on this. One, most of the portals ask questions from an editorial or from a day's news, but the questions that is coming in UPSC are more broad-based in nature. And daily practice answer writing is okay to cover or revise the theme, but it will not give you the experience in writing a full paper. Toppers answer sheets are available on various portals. We have not uploaded any portal toppers answer sheets as far as I know, but you can look at other coaching institutes portals to find toppers answer sheets. You put the rank holder's name and write UPSC mains answer sheet. Search on Google and you will be redirected to those answers sites. You should write both in points and para, depending upon the nature of the question, depending upon the subject area. It's very much advisable to make precise notes so that you can revise it multiple times and you can replicate it in your answers. Writing previous year's questions, UPSC questions would be a good idea for static topics like history, culture, conceptual part of polity. Those areas, writing previous year's questions are good. But for the dynamic topics, it's always advisable to write questions from the current issues that's in news. I'll come to subject-wise differentiation. We'll come to time management. Writing speed will come to it. Keywords will come to it. Anything on what we have been discussed so far? Vocabulary is not as relevant as you think. You will find some of the toppers answers of people who have got good ranks writing very simple English with very simple vocabulary. Complicated vocabulary is not required for this examination. You can use certain subject specific keywords, but not necessary to have complex vocabulary. Not I don't prominent abbreviations you can use, but not the more recent ones. Okay, so I'm going to take it to the next part, right? So what constitutes a good answer, right? This is the second part of the session. You can write answers, whatever subjects you have completed so far. You can pick up previous year's questions from those subject areas and write those answers. That should be the first thing that you do. Attempt UPSC questions first. That will give you a clear idea of what kind of questions are being asked from a subject area. And you can experience a UPSC question because that's what you are eventually going to write. A certain amount of grammar is good. Best score for GS paper varies from paper to paper, from year to year. What was a good score for GS4 last year might not be a good score this year. So there's no one size fit. Anything above 105, 110 can be considered as a very good score in GS papers. Right? So what should what do you call include in a good answer? Essay will come to it later. What should include in a good answer is first and foremost part is good question interpretation. What is the question asking? What are you writing? Is that in sync? Right? The question cannot be something else, and you are writing something related to it, but not exactly what is being asked. Many times when you get low scores after feeling that you have written a lot, the main problem that you would have faced is that you have not addressed the question interpretation. The question has been asking a certain demand, but you have not hit the demand of the question. The most important part in answer writing is addressing the demand of the question. Have you addressed the demand of the question? There are certain aspects that you can always follow with respect to following demand of questions. You break the question into part. That's one part that you can always do. You write 1, 2, 3, right? This is the first part, second part, third part. This makes sure that before you start writing the answer, you clearly know how many parts to this question are. You have clearly identified these are the subparts. It's advisable to read the question more than once. I'll come to unknown question later. It's advisable to read questions more than once, and especially questions if you have not understood, try to read more than once or twice and try to identify the keywords. I'll come to that. So identify the demand of the question by reading the question more than once, marking the subparts of the question 1, 2, 3, right? Second, to ensure that the evaluator understands that you have understood the demand of the question, it's always advisable to use the keywords in the question as headings in the answers. Let me share you something. I've removed some of the headings. This is a particular topper's paper. She has secured rank 6 this year. And whenever you're looking for a topper's answer sheet on any institute's portal, you always look at what year the student has written this paper. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? When you're looking at a particular topper's answer, you make sure that the answers have been written in a particular year, right? If you are looking at this year's Pradeep Kumar's copy, don't look at the answers that he has written in 2017. Some institutes will upload the copies that he has written 2 years back. That will not give you a good reference point. Always make sure that the copies are of the latest year, right? I'll show. I had these are introductions. Okay, I'm not going to go in the direction. I'm just going to show you how visibility is being improved. Solution to a needful situation. Example has been highlighted, and then example has been written to substantiate the content. Look at the introduction. Compassion should be never be considered as a weakness, but rather as an essential element of providing a congenial administrative working environment. Discuss. Above statement can be aptly understood in the framework of situation of impartiality versus neutrality, bureaucratic rigidity versus democratic ethos. Can you write an introduction like this for a topic like this? That's what you have to think. This is top 10 rank, right? The sharper the socioeconomic disparity, the greater the incentive towards corruption. Analyze. See the way the answer has been started. Oxfam India highlights that 1% of the population held 73% of the country's wealth. The beauty of this kind of an introduction is that this is a good introduction for a lot of topics. It's not just for this particular, what do you call, question. This can be a relevant introduction for a lot of topics. This can even be a conclusion also. Mostly whatever is being used as an introduction can also be a conclusion. This question, what I'm trying to highlight out here is that the keyword has been written and then explained and example has been segregated. Imagine checking this copy. Imagine you are checking this answer. You know this particular subpoint is about accountability. The keyword has been written, it has been explained, and example has been separated. So the visibility is very high. This is what I say when I say visibility. You're basically making the job of the evaluator easy. It's not jumbled. It's not in the middle of a paragraph. It's not disorganized. It's highly organized. It's highly visible, and the value addition is standing out. It's important to make sure that your value addition stands out, because before writing something like this, you would have taken so much effort to read it. You would have taken so much effort to write notes on it, revise it. And when you write it, the last thing that you want is that the evaluator should not see it. You should make sure that the evaluator sees what is being written. Okay. Again, ethics. See the nature of the introduction. Keyword has been written, then explained. Keyword has been written, explained, example. Keyword, explained, example. Are the examples very large? Some of you I have noticed write really long examples. These examples are really short. It is giving the idea of what the student is trying to write. This is a conclusion. Those were questions from ethics. There were some questions from economy also, right? So that's rank 6 this year. Vishaka Yadav. Right. So the idea is that the question interpretation has to be perfect. In order to write a good question interpretation, I'll come to that. The highest score so far recorded in ethics has gone up to 130, 135, as far as I know. Right? After question interpretation, the most important aspect is content. Content is what you understand about the topic. The content is a conceptual clarity and also value addition. Conceptual clarity, I'm sure most of you would be in the right place, would have a similar understanding of a topic. If you get a question about a speaker of Lok Sabha, or if you get a question about urbanization, the understanding of the issue would be more or less same for majority of you. You know what is the problem. You know what are the challenges. You know what are the solutions. But what differentiates the topper among you is how you are able to substantiate your argument with a value addition, right? If you're going to write about the speaker, what constitutional articles are related to? If you're going to write about the powers of the speaker, what judgments have influenced it? If you're going to write about urbanization, what reports have mentioned this particular issue of urbanization? That is what differentiates a topper from a regular aspirant as far as content is concerned. You have to have conceptual understanding. Your conceptual understanding has to be backed by value addition. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? It's not just that you need to know what is happening, you need to relate that to what is happening in news. You need to relate that what is with its context in the constitution. You need to relate that with respect to a report, committee, commission, whatever. So whenever you prepare a particular topic, make sure that you have a conceptual understanding. I'm sure that is being already done in the classes, and you're also being given the value addition. But the amount of revision that you do for the conceptual understanding and the value addition is same. So that is where you are not able to write specific things in your answers. You end up writing conceptual understanding. So if you have to write value addition in your answers, for every topic that you're studying, you need to have a 1 page or 2 page notes of value addition related to that topic. Tomorrow, if you are going to study the topic of border management, you need to understand what are the challenges of border management. You need to understand the solutions of border management. At the same time, you should have a 1 page notes on what committees have been set up to study the challenges of border management. What international agreements do we have? What technological interventions have we made? These 1 page notes have to be done 30, 40, 50 times. The conceptual understanding can be clear after you do 3, 4 times. It's relevant in case of paper one as also. Like in a particular, what do you call, art and culture answer, what kind of diagrams can you use? You'll come to it. See, don't worry about revision right now. Your concern right now is to finish the syllabus. I am just giving you certain directions in the context of answer writing. How should your answer eventually look like from what you're studying right now? So when you're studying a particular topic, you make sure that you differentiate your value addition separately. If you are studying, let's say, Gandhi and Gandhi's what do you call journey in the 1940s or 1930s, you look at the sessions that you can mention. You look at the leaders that you can mention. You can look at the bills or acts that you can mention. Separate your conceptual understanding from the value addition. Value addition has to be revised multiple times because it's more specific in nature. It's more difficult to retain. So it will involve more revision. And that can only happen if you have crisp notes for the value addition. Conceptual understanding is good. It will help you write good answers. But if you want to get a rank, you need to give value addition for each of these concepts. You are already learning it in your classes. You just segregate that and use it separately. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So once you have your question interpretation and content ready, the next two prominent things are structure and presentation. I've had one of the toppers of 2018 who told me that, the top 5,000 candidates have the same content, right? When you eventually revise and study and when you're about to write mains, the top 5,000 candidates would have read the same sources, would have read the same compilations, would have made notes, everything. But if you have to get into the top 1,000, you have to make sure that you get half a mark or 1 mark more in every question compared to the next person. Some of you would know that, when the difference between a topper and somebody who does not secure a rank would be as little as 60, 80 marks or 100 marks in the written, right? So make sure that your answers are well structured and visible. That's where structure and presentation comes. When I'm talking about structure and presentation, it is about segregating your answers into parts: introduction, body, conclusion. It is about making sure that your keywords are written first and then explained. It's about underlining the keywords. It's about using of diagrams. It's about the use of schematics. It's about the use of tabular approach when there is something being compared to the other. So question interpretation and content is the most important thing with respect to answer writing. Followed by that, the subsequent important aspect is structure and presentation. Right? Is this clear? Structuring is about writing introduction. Why is it important to write an introduction? Introduction is your opportunity to impress the evaluator that you know why this question is being asked. You know why this is in news. You know something more than the next person. Introduction is like the first impression, right? The first thing that you're going to tell to somebody. So if you write something more specific in the introduction, it's very likely to help the evaluator understand that you are a serious candidate and not somebody who is just wasting his time. So if you are going to start a polity answer with a constitutional article, he will know that the student knows the subject. He knows the relevance of this topic. That is why it is also advisable that you can connect the question to the contemporary events surrounding it. So you're basically telling the evaluator that, okay, I know this topic is important. I know why you have asked this. This is a good question. That's how you are, agreeing to the nature of the question. Introductions are important. Introduction demands are different in different subjects. In art and culture, it can be a name of a kingdom, a era, a form of painting or art form, a personality who has been involved in a particular art form. These things can be used as an introduction. In history, world history, post-independence, years can be used, personalities can be used, name of sessions can be used, uh, something specific. If you have to write an introduction in any subjects in any topic, it's always better to write a specific factual thing. So you might assume that, okay, how will I remember everything factual? That's how why it's important to reverse engineer, understand what kind of questions are being asked, what topics are more important. There's a question around Gandhi every year. There's a question comparing Gandhi with somebody else, or comparison kind of question is almost there every year. So you need to understand. Usually, when you prepare for prelims, you're going to cram a lot of factual things. You can recycle these factual things into your answers in the form of introduction. In the body, always use the keywords in the question as headings in the answers. Let me try showing you this. I'll probably use we had here a scholarship test. I don't know, some of you might be familiar with this. So we compile good answers from these tests after every test. I'm going to show you some. Can you see this question? The question is, a need has arisen to revisit the provisions of contempt of court in India. Discuss. As per the Contempt of Court Act 1971, see, it's specific, it's short, it's related to the question. Why COC was incorporated? It's using the keywords in the question. Why provisions of COC needs to be revised? Again, using the provisions in the question. Way forward. I'll pick up another question. 1 second. Enumerate the concerns of states regarding GST, how far compensation cess can address the same. GST is a destination-based indirect tax and is levied at final consumption point of goods and services. It was implemented in 2017. It subsumed various taxes. Definition, specific. Concerns of the states regarding GST tax regime. Again, see this exact keyword, concerns of the states regarding GST regime, right? Advantage of compensation cess. Way forward. See, again, concerns of the states regarding GST tax regime. See, the keyword has been written first, then explained. Keyword first, then explained. So if imagine checking an answer for the same question 100 times, how much motivated will you be to read an answer again and again? So highlighting the keyword is important. Then the evaluator understands that you are addressing the demand of the question. In history, name of personalities, year of the event, sessions of the Congress. You can write what do you call important acts, bills that has been passed, important newspapers that has been launched, something factual, right? I'll come to the keywords. Keywords, see, I have a certain theory on keywords. I am only concerned about certain keywords. I'm not concerned about all keywords. I'll come to that, right? Use of graphs. See, this is a good approach for economy-based questions. More number of points, lesser explanation. At the same time, if it is a question from paper 1 or paper 2, more explanation, lesser number of points. Sorry, I did not share this. See this. More number of points, lesser explanation. This is a good practice as far as paper 3 is concerned. It's very likely professors in specific subjects for optionals and professors in general for GS studies. Introduction facts which you can use is different in different papers. I'll give you a collection of screenshots of introductions. I have a collection of around 100 introductions and 100 conclusions. So that will give you a sample size. I'll share it with your coordinator. No, I'm not sharing the screen right now, right? I'm just speaking. So I'll share the collection of screenshots with your coordinator. She will disseminate it here, right? So moving on, structure, presentation, content. So with respect to keywords, see, I am concerned about 2-3 types of keywords: critically analyze, critically discuss, and how far do you think? In these type of questions, I emphasize on writing both sides of the answers. Are there a nuanced difference between a discuss and explain? Yes. I'll give you a document on this. I have created a document on this explaining how each of these keywords have to be addressed. But the nuanced difference is very little. In an examination where you are writing 20 questions in 3 hours, you may not have a lot of time to go into the nitty-gritties of each of these keywords. So I'm not a big fan of my agenda is this. You write a good introduction, you divide the answers into subparts and address each part of the question in the body and write a conclusion. Even if it's discuss, explain, elucidate, whatever it is, fine. But if it is critically analyzed, if it is critically discussed, if it's critically examined, then you write both sides of the argument. You write in favor, you write again. If you get a question on how far do you think, do you agree? In these kind of questions, you write both sides of the argument and then take a stand. Don't establish a stand and then argue both sides. You explain both sides of the argument because you don't know what is the perspective of the evaluator on this, right? Now, let's say if you have a question, how far do you think secularism in India is a threat? Is a threat, right? So the evaluator might have a completely different understanding of you. You can take a neutral stand, but establish or give arguments for both sides. You explain why is there a perception that there is a threat to secularism. You explain why there is no threat to secularism, and then you take a stand. So opinion-oriented questions like how far do you think, do you agree? These kind of questions, you write both sides of the argument, take a stand. Critically analyze, critically explain, critically discuss. Anything that involves critical analysis, write both sides of the argument. For most of the other keywords, go for a standard approach. No, see, I'm just giving a set of guidelines. I'm not forcing you to write exactly the same way. I would be really happy to see some of you experiment with answer writing. I'm just repeating some of the best practices that is going around. Some of the best practices that has been rewarded by UPSC. Whatever I'm saying is based on my experience of analyzing papers of previous year's toppers and working with previous year's toppers. I've worked with a lot of toppers over the years and seen a significant number of papers. So all these are indicative. It's not compulsory, right? I would be really happy to see some of you come back and say that, you know, can we try this? Can we, what do you call, experiment like this? That would be the best way to work out. Look at the best practices, try to emulate some of them, improvise, and try to develop your own style of writing. Again, it depends upon the nature of the question. Some questions, if you are completely in disagreement, it's fine, but you make sure that you provide arguments for the other side of the equation also. No, there's no points like there is no hard and fast rule that you have to write more negative points. You have to write on both sides. Examples are good value additions for most questions. In ethics, it's highly advisable. It's one of the best practices that has been seen in toppers who have scored very well in ethics. They give an example to substantiate everything that they write. It's a good examples in governance are good. Examples in society is good. Examples is a good form of value addition. Everybody has been a beginner at some point of time. Most of the people whose answers that you're looking at and being inspired right now, at some point of time, they have also been beginners. They've also had the doubt whether they would be able to write this. You don't always have to be neutral. You can take a stand, but you express the other side of the argument as well. You present both sides of the argument. You criticize and you talk about um, how do you be neutral. See, you write both sides. If you are getting a question where you have a critical analysis keyword, you write about the arguments in favor of the topic, arguments against the topic, and then either take a balanced stand, or if you have a completely different opinion, it's okay to take that stand. And I'll share my email ID towards the end, right? I'm going to show some more screenshots, right, which will be useful. Okay, this is a value addition keyword. How to add value in your answers. Again, I know this is a little silly screen. I just wanted to create something that will be easier for you to remember. In GS 1, 2, 3, these are the different aspects that you can remember for value addition. Schemes. Can you cite a relevant government scheme with reference to the question? Committees, constitutional articles, judgment. Is there a scope to mention a specific constitutional article or a relevant judgment? Is there a report, committee, or commission that you can mention? Can you give examples or anecdotes to substantiate? Can you include maps, diagrams, tables? I'll share this with the coordinator. Is this making sense? These are the types of value addition that you can include in your answers. Right? I had asked you to compare your answers with the topper. This can be a good document to do that. This is a good answer comparison sheet. I have divided the aspects into different parts. Introduction, how can you compare? What is approach to introduction? What is the type of value addition in the introduction? Extent of introduction. This is usually done to compare your approach versus the topper's approach. Maybe that can be a topper in the respective test or a topper of the year. Right? There are around 15 parameters on the basis of which you can compare your answers with the topper. I'll just give you an example of what a filled up form looks like. Once you establish what are the aspects that you need to work on, you can clearly quantify what kind of changes you need to make. The first step is in identifying how your approach is different from the topper's approach. Then you can clearly define what changes needs to be done. This is unique to that student's understanding. You can develop your own understanding. I'll share these documents with you, right? I'll take a set of questions now. I have had a general discussion. See, more tips with respect to answer writing can be given by seeing your specific answers. Your mentor, your faculty members will be able to tell you more specific things. And as and when we meet, I can also take a look at some of your answers and give you feedback on how to write better or what can be done to improve your answers. It's definitely possible to clear prelims in 8 months. History answers are better to be textual. I I can give it a shot. See, I'm going to share my email address out here. It's asifanwar@shankarayas.in. Prelims is happening in a week. We are starting multiple batches of mains test series after that. So I don't know how. I would love to see your answers. I'm really interested to see this, but I don't know how practical it will be. Send it across. Whatever I can respond to, I'll respond. I'll try to respond to as many as possible. Essay, we can have a completely different session. Essay and ethics is a completely different ball game. We have not discussed much of essay and ethics right now. That should be more than sufficient. Your class notes. See, the trick is not in the diversity of sources. The trick is in having minimal sources with multiple revision. Don't try to go behind every book that your peer starts to refer. Limit your sources, make notes, revise, practice. That's how it works. History optional paper 1 and 2, man, I am not at all aware of it. Time limit for 10 markers and 15 markers. See, you have 3 hours, that's 180 minutes. So the ideal breakup is 7 to 8 minutes for 10 markers and 11 to 12 minutes for 15 markers. So what happens in an actual examination is that you will always have 1 or 2 questions which you don't know. When you get a bouncer, you should be happy about it. Make sure that it's a bouncer for everyone, not just you. If it's a bouncer only for you, then it's a bad situation. But if a question on McBride Commission or if a question on Malay Peninsula decolonization comes, or the what do you call West African decolonization comes, it's a good thing. Having bouncers in a paper is a good thing because then you have to write fewer answers, right? Thorough understanding of the syllabus. Every keyword of the syllabus should be familiar with you. You should know when you're reading a topic, why am I reading this? What kind of questions can come from this? That's very important. That's going to make your job much easier. Because otherwise you're going to consume a lot of content which is irrelevant, or you're going to consume a lot of content for topics which does not have the kind of relevance that it's being given. Man, I've written my optional in 2012. That's almost 7-8 years. There was 2 optionals at that point of time. I had sociology and pol science. I would not be a good judge to comment about optional answer writing at this point of time. I can be really helpful with respect to GS. I had a conversation with Anudeep Dureshetty on that question, Malay decolonization. He said he drew a map and he marked the major countries and he wrote whatever he knew about decolonization in general. That's what he said. He secured rank 1 that year. If there's a bouncer, if it's a complete bouncer, skip it because the evaluator is going to see through that. But if it's a bouncer in which some of the keywords are familiar, write something very little, spend not more than 3 to 4 minutes. So even if you're going to get very less marks, it should not cost you very high amount of time. Your ROI should be lower. Bouncer means something that you don't know, right? Bouncer is a word which is used in the context of cricket. So you're not able to face that ball, right? You don't know the answer for that particular question. In that scenario, it's better if it's a complete bouncer, don't touch it. I'm going to show you. I think I'll show you some of the answers. That will be interesting. How to approach bouncers. Bouncers are it's called as short answers, but this is gonna be answers of the challenge out here is that there would be This is an answer which has been written in very less time. Either the student does not know a lot of things. Short answers. I'll send this across via mail because some of these answers are not Shankar IAS material, so it's difficult on my part to share it. These are short answers which has been written. I'll share some of the toppers answer sheets which has been publicly available. I have certain concerns out here to share this in this session. Again, it depends on, you have to understand that in a mains answer paper evaluation, it's highly subjective. So your goal out here is not to maximize your mark in that particular question. Your goal is to get at least 1 mark or half mark. So one, you don't waste too much time. You don't bluff around too much and you don't try to deceive the evaluator out here. You write what you know, you write it in points, you write it in schematic format, you include a big map, whatever you can think of, but your ROI should be really good. Some of you had mentioned about time management. You have written the answers in the tests. So you would notice something that we have included. This is your answer booklet, right? Um, you will see a clock sign on the top. Always make sure that you try to identify the volume of time that you're giving for each question. So you don't calculate the whole time. You keep writing the starting time for each answer. In each answer, you write on the top, I'm starting this answer at 6:45. My next answer is at 6:52. My next answer is 7:03. You keep mentioning the time that you're writing. And once you have the time in hand, this is one approach. One second. This is one approach that you can follow to understand. Are you able to see this? Question number one, I spent 7.5 minutes, approximately 126 words. My understanding of the question was good. My approach was regular, 4 marks. Now look at question number 14, 13.5 minutes, 192 words. You misread the question and got 1 mark. See the ROI out here. Sometimes some questions which has been written in very less times, you notice that you get very high marks. So measuring where you're spending the time and measuring how that time is being transformed into marks will help you really understand and continue good practices and discontinue bad practices. I'm going to show you one more of that. Look at the questions which has really, see, 2 minutes, half a mark, 4 minutes, 1 mark, 5 minutes, 1 mark, 15 minutes, 6.25 marks, 5 minutes, 1.5 marks. You need to understand what kind of approaches is working, how much is a good time to give for a question which you did not know. See, question number 7. The student did not have much content for the question. He gave 2 minutes, he got half a mark. Not a bad deal. 4 minutes, 1 mark. It's a bad deal. So it's always good to quantify where you're spending the time and how that is transforming into marks. Variety in example setting, I did not get that question. See, it is not difficult to, at this point of time, it may be difficult for you to identify a bouncer, because if you're referring all the standard materials, if you have revised and if you have written sufficient number of tests, you know there are certain things which is expected this year. And if it comes beyond that, then it's a bouncer. I'm not expecting that you'll be able to understand whether a question is bouncer or not now, because most of you have not completed the syllabus. You're still in the process. I would suggest that you try different approaches in the tests. You try the 10 markers first, 15 markers later, and see what works best for you. In normal practice, 15 markers first. The first 3 answers, if it can be written better, will be good, because that sets the first impression. I've noticed where the students who write first 3 answers really well get really good marks in the subsequent questions, because the evaluator sets an expectation in your paper, and vice versa. So 15 markers, first 3, then the remaining. 600 marks, how many pages, and do we keep to the word limit or page limit? Qualifying regional papers, I don't think you have to be really worried. The qualifying marks are very little and it is not that difficult. I don't know exactly the pages and things for the qualifying paper. GS3 is highly dynamic, it's highly current oriented, more number of points, more number of data, more number of examples. Agriculture, think of all the data that you can cite, think of all the pie charts and the graphs that you can create, pre-create. It's highly dynamic in nature. It's very interesting paper, pre-created in advance. You can always change the sequence at which you attempt, right? You don't have to jumble the paper. You have to just attempt the first question, then the third question, then the 10th question. You don't have to do anything. You just decide your choices well. I am a big fan of writing in points. I think it's easier to check. But in paper 2 and paper 1, a little more explanation for each of the points compared to paper 3. Paper 3, lesser explanation, more points. Paper 1 and 2, 1 or 2 sentence or 2-3 sentence explanation. I didn't get that 10 markers are working good on me. Can I shift to 15 markers on? If 10 markers are working for you, 15 markers should work for you as well. Writing in paragraph is not restricted. See, again, every paper should have a mix of everything. Don't try to draw a schematic and diagram in every answer. There are certain topics in a paper where diagrams are warranted. Like in paper 2, you can go for a diagram or a map in IR section. In paper 1, you can go for a diagram or a map in geography section. So in every paper, go for a mix of approaches and don't try to be monotonous. Make it interesting and diverse for the evaluator. Start whatever syllabus is being covered in your classes. You take a look at the questions that has been asked from that particular syllabus in the previous UPSC years. As and when the topic is completed, you try to attempt the previous UPSC questions for those topics. As we discussed in the beginning, analyze previous year's questions. What is being asked? Why is it being asked? How is it being asked? How many questions are being asked? IR is international relations. Sorry. When we speak in the context of the subject. We've been doing it for long. So we use words which we assume you know. You can definitely clear 2021 exams. I've seen people start in June and become an IAS officer in the next June. 1 year is more than sufficient. Be confident. First attempt is the best attempt. The fact that you know less is a good thing. The more number of attempts it gets, more difficult it gets actually. Pre-prepare the conclusions. Whenever you're preparing a topic, you anticipate what kind of questions can come from that question, from that subject area, and what kind of conclusions can you write. You prepare in advance. It's okay to prepare popular abbreviations, but now is SC schedule caste or Supreme Court? Some abbreviations you use your common sense. GOBT is fine, MG Narega is fine, FCI is fine. But certain topics, certain keywords, you have to be more cautious if there are multiple interpretations for those abbreviations. Make conclusions interesting. You can use quotes in conclusions. You can use data in conclusions. Conclusions are important because that's the last thing that the evaluator is going to read before he gives you mark. Everyday editorial, I don't know whether it's a good idea in my opinion, because issue becomes prominent and 20-30 editorials gets written around that issue. So you prepare the issue in the context of the syllabus. Editorials are a pathway to that. Making notes for current affairs, if you're able to pull it off, will be very useful during prelims and mains. Example of anecdote is more like a story. Like it's usually used in the context of ethics. You talk about when you were traveling in a train, you found a lady who was not having any documents and the TTR did something. So that's a story. Example is more specific. Anecdotes are storyline. Quotes are fine. It's usually fine for conclusions. You can see in some of the toppers' answers that they have used quotes in conclusions. Yes. Quotes by prominent jurists, quotes by prominent authors have been used by people. Don't overdo it. Use it in a few answers. Yes. Anecdote, I give you an example, right? It's a good time to start. Every day is a good day to start. I'll mail it across. You have my email address. Just mail it across and I'll send it across. Way forward is a different word used for conclusion. Way forward are the solutions or things that can be done in the context of the topic. It varies from student to student. It depends upon the background, your experience with exam. Sivapriya, can you mail me? Mail me at asifanwar@shankarias.in and I'll send it across, right? Again, whether you're praising or blaming or praising US depends upon the context of the question. If the context of the question demanded it, it's fine for you to do that. There are advantages for both offline and online notes. There's no one way of doing it. Online tends to get bulky because it's easier to copy paste. Offline tends to be more crisp, so easier to revise. So there are advocates for both offline and online notes. You see what works for you. If you can mention the person who has given the quote, very well and good. If not, it's okay. I'll just type asifanwar@shankarias.in. Right. So I hope at least you've got some idea. You are better off than the beginning of the session. We'll have regular sessions. I'll be more interested to see some of your answers. That would give me a better idea of individual suggestions, because this is all general. We can have individual suggestion in the answers. Kavita, I did not understand about any idea about offline classes. I'm not sure. Unless the government decides to open the classes, we can't do anything about it. If the government releases a guideline, we are ready to open as soon as possible. It comes with practice. Analyzing skill comes with practice. You just create a mindset for that. You will have to check with the coordinator regarding that. Answer writing practice, as and when you're doing a topic, you try to write previous year's UPSC questions from those topics. You are having tests on a weekly basis or on a fortnightly basis, as far as I know. You keep writing those. Okay. Anything else? I hope you have been able to address some of your doubts at least. Can you tell me how to read the editorials when I complete one? Mostly do not understand much and end up copying 80 to 90%. Again, wait for multiple editorials to come from the same issues. You can refer what do you call IS Parliament. You can refer our YouTube channel for analysis of editorials. You are in a much advantage because there's a lot of online resources around newspapers now. You don't have to individually read and make notes, everything. There are a lot of people doing it for you. Yes. I'm supposed to show you the mains answer writing portal. Let me show you that as well. This is a portal, shankarayasacademy.com, SIA portal, logins home. You can put in your login ID and your password. Then you're able to log in. This is where you have a dashboard. You can update your profile at the beginning. Right? You can provide details. You will have brainstorming details where you can upload your copy. Now, this particular student has has subscribed to a particular test. So this is where you get the question paper, answer key, the answer booklet, good answers file, videos of the discussion. Everything is available on the platform. If you have not written a particular test, you can browse. You can upload the particular document and you can see the status. If a particular copy is being rejected for some reason, it will be shown out here. And the corrected answer sheets also gets uploaded out here. Then you have a ticketing system out here where you can raise during any concerns that you have. You can describe the nature of problem that you have and save. So you have a paper uploading platform where you can download the question paper solution and whatever documents related to the test in this platform, and you can upload your answers after scanning or using a CAM scanner, and the paper gets checked and re-uploaded out here. The ticketing system and the brainstorming details, these are the two prominent areas. Orientation videos, discussion videos, all these things will be uploaded out here. We have a short recorded video for the same that will also be shared with the coordinator. CAM scanner is banned. There are a lot of other alternatives for CAM scanner. A4 sheets. This is you have weekly tests as far as I know. So this can be your tests for the weekly test can be uploaded out here. Ticketing system is used to raise concerns regarding any concerns that you have. Right. So that's it. Thank you for your time. Had a great experience. Looking forward to meet you once the offline center opens. Hopefully someday we'll meet in Chennai or Bangalore or Trivandrum, wherever you guys are. No, writing in a digital way is not a good approach, because eventually you're going to write in actual papers on actual with actual pens. Don't write the digital way. For note making, fine, but for writing tests, write with pen. You will have to I believe the coordinator and the respective subject faculties will tell you how to go about. I just showed you how the portal works. Offline classes will start as and when the government decides to it, right? Not in our hand right now. The government has to decide when the centers have to open. Once they give the green sign, we will open. See, these details, when the paper is being uploaded, time management, that will be discussed by the faculty or the coordinator. Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. It becomes confusing. The trick is in following one source. Don't try to go behind multiple sources. You decide, okay, this is what is for me, and you follow that. Limited source, revision, notes, practice. These are the main things. I think I'll be able to give you more specific inputs when we see your answers, because every person has a different way of writing answers. No two people will write the same answers. Sure. All the best, guys. It's okay to include personal situation examples. I think it's good to include personal situation examples in essays. Thank you so much.